Uh,
Hi, Mike.
They can't hear you right now, Saul.
They can't hear me.
This, and we're going to go to 3, 2, 1.
All right, guys, can you hear me now? Give me a little message in the chat if you can hear us. We got a great show for you tonight. If we can just get some sound, we got a lot planned. All right, Chris says he can hear me now.
all right.
So everything's going good. Sorry about that, guys. We're gonna have to invest in a $10 million studio. Make sure this doesn't happen in the future. All right, a little. AJ has already put in a group chat about the OP Cup and the next Learn to Play Day. We're going to do a Learn to Play Day this coming Saturday, July 22nd, at the Greater Columbus Convention Center. If you can come out there, it's free to play. Just come and hang out with us all day. I think Vlad and AJ are going to get here around 10:30, maybe a little bit sooner. We're just going to play Overpower all day long. I get off work at 2 o'clock or so. I'll sneak back to the room at that point, and I'm going to play a new deck. Believe it or not, I built a new deck. No Beyonder.
What?
No Beyonder. Nope.
We'll believe it when we see it.
Yeah, well, you're not going to, well, you'll see it if you play me. It's going to be like, I'm going to hide all the hero cards. I'm going to have a shield around the game so nobody can see but me and my opponent. Don't want Marcel to know what I'm bringing to the OP Cup. Let him stew on it for a little while. So if you're in Columbus, anywhere close, Vlad's driving for like an hour and a half away, maybe farther. How far away is it? 2 hours, maybe?
2 hours.
2 hours. Hour and 45 minutes. So come on down. I think Sam's coming back. I hope Sam's coming back. We're going to play for a little while. Corey and Josiah are at a comic book con, so they won't be here. But Anthony's going to play. Got Aaron coming. Aaron's going to actually get to sit down and learn to play. Joe will probably learn to play.
Okay.
So sound thing. So we're going to skip all the pleasantries for right now. And let's go to why you're all here. I want to introduce my friend and cohort in the game of Overpower. If you don't know by now, the one and only Marcel Lojet. Let's give him a nice round of ovation. Yay. Thanks for coming, Marcel.
Absolutely. Welcome to the GOAT podcast, baby. Welcome. I mean the Overpower Adventures podcast. Apologies.
Well, we'll let you have that for a little bit. So, Marcel, thanks for coming on. We're going to set all kind of records with this one. You're going to get more. You're going to get twice the viewers Phil Keffer had. Is
Pleasure.
that right? Yeah. Phil had quite a few. It was a good show.
Well, I've had twice the tournament wins, so that seems about right in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that math does add up in that. Yes, it does indeed. So
Definitely.
take us back to where you first started playing Overpower. Where did you play?
Overpower in our world is different, right? Because the truth is, Overpower, the navel of the Overpower world was risen from the ashes.
Right.
It's a place in Scarborough, Ontario. It was a place that started, I want to say, when I was like 14, 15 years old. And same thing, just a couple packs up, we all started playing a little bit. Next thing you know, we had 4 or 5 people. The best thing, obviously, is when the owners get involved in the game, and then it starts to roll from there with tournaments. But we had about a good 14, 15 people that may have been like potentially the best in the world at that time. I mean, when I was 15, 16 years old, I could legitimately say I was playing Overpower full time, like a full-time job. That's what I was doing every day for a good 6, 7 hours. So basically sitting in the back of a comic book store and going.
Who's playing up there?
Well, I mean, one guy that's really a big one, right there. He actually made a card, right? Duncan. Duncan's a good one to start with. He was one of our actual like younger recruits that we kind of had there. He started like a couple of years after us. But again, and I'm sure you got it in Cincinnati as well, where just the consistent play. It's one of the few things I can always tell people, that practice makes perfect at the end of the day. And I mean, if we could all log how much Overpower time we've played in our lives, I could say that, I'm probably up there, even though I don't play many scab games. Like I said, playing full time for a good couple of years will really do it to you in the grand scheme. So, Risen from the Ashes started. We all started going to national tournaments, regionals, a couple of things with Sutton, run the early rating system in Overpower. I got very blessed by, befriending him early in the game. And that afforded me the opportunity to like go with judges to sort of several different tournaments where I would never have been able to go as like a 16, 17-year-old kid. Of course, one of the famous tournaments being when, as a 17, came down to Ohio, you got a game. I don't think you were at that tournament. No. I think I visualized maybe like a Scott,
Chris, Miles,
Chris Vizina was there, that sort of thing. Along those lines. But great moment in my life. Got to say, like made some friendships that I still have today, 20 something years later. Sorry I had to just win everything there for, a long time.
The story I heard was you didn't lose a game the whole weekend.
That is a correct
that
statement.
Is correct.
Yeah. But we don't count that in my undefeated tournaments. We have undefeated tournament record. I happen to have 2 undefeated tournaments currently, which is the amount that is the top dog at the moment. Nobody else has had 2 undefeated tournaments yet. Going for my 3rd, of course, in this next Ohio. I don't count the original one.
No competition.
You want to count tournaments where there's some sort of competition. Yeah, exactly, right? But so that's really how it all started, and went to nationals, regionals, got to really play a lot of international Overpower, which was big.
There was a big Overpower tournament held at Origins one year. They gave away a big cash prize, $1,000 or $10,000. I don't remember which. Did you play in that? Do you recall that one? That would have been right here in Columbus. Marcel?
That's that's the one that my friend
Yeah.
and friend.
Yeah, Phil won that one. Marcel, I lost you. I'm sure he'll be right back. Hang tight, guys. He'll come right back in. But yeah, I don't know if Marcel played in that big tournament at Origins or not. Ended up being won by Phil Keffer. He won a nice cash prize. There's Marcel. He's back. Can you hear me now, Marcel?
Oh, I'm back.
You're back, baby.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me that easy, my friend. You can't get rid of me. you venture 5, I venture 6, right back at you,
Right.
buddy.
Yeah.
Don't panic.
All right. So, did you play in that one at Origins that Phil won?
I didn't. No, that was there were several regionals that obviously can't get to them all in the
Sure.
grand scheme of things. So
I
never
didn't
got
play
to play in that one
either.
particular.
That was actually before I started playing real competitive, and I didn't know about the tournament in time to play in that one. So Phil won some easy.
I
cash.
believe that's where, I believe that's the one where Phil broke the game partially, where he was doing the acrobatics trick, where he was locking off the team basically every round, and scenario leave Norman Barth. Give all a history lesson. I believe Norman Barth pulled the old shoot right out from him right before the tournament, saying you couldn't play the two together, something along that lines. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a good story, that origin story, for sure.
Right. Next time we have Phil
I
on
mean,
the show, I'll ask him
the
about
whole
that
meet.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the greatest stories, and most of the Overpower people know it, is when Phil and I basically met. We were at the Nationals, and neither of us had actually made it into the Nationals, and they had these pre-tournaments ahead of time where you had to win 6. You had to go 6-0 to basically make the second day of the Nationals.
Yep.
And I remember just sitting beside this kid and just being like, "Hey, what's your name?" And he was like, "Hey, what's your name?" And the two of us were just sitting there 6-0, and long story short is that's the one where I came third and beat Keith Bursack in semifinals game. That's its own controversy. That's its own thing,
Phil
but we'll leave it at that.
In the qualifier to keep me from making it. That was the first time I'd ever
Phil
played.
Keffer or Phil Miller?
Keffer.
Oh,
Phil
okay.
Keffer
Okay. Yeah.
Put me out.
Phil Miller didn't win too many games back then. He
didn't win them then like he does now. We'll just say that.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, that's for sure. That was
a lot
Way
of
to go.
fun. That was I don't remember if that was Chicago or Philadelphia. We played at both of them. I don't remember which hosted which event, but that was good. How many games do you think you've played in total? Competitive games.
Oof. Like actual tournament rated games, I'm probably at least now in the 300 range or something along those lines.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. I'm probably winning, honestly, at an 80-something% win rate.
I think that's an honest assessment. How many times did you beat Phil Miller? What's your record against Miller?
Oh, I mean, that's handedly. I mean, people can just go through, everything's online if people want to see how dominating I am in the game. That's not hard for people to find. You just type in my name and Overpower and victory, 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 victory.
Okay. I think we've only played each other once. I only remember once. Do you remember more than that?
Not too many. I mean, back in the day, we played a little bit. Our biggest game, obviously, was last year, semifinals. Me against you. You're playing your Battlesite Classic White Queen deck.
Yeah.
I'm bringing what I thought was the right meta at the moment. I kind of played the Lambo, but with the babies instead of Witch. I really had thought Dracula was going to catch on a lot more. And I thought the old little Iceman was going to be a bigger player in the meta of a tournament. Yeah. It wasn't. It was a discard the whole day, basically, for me. And I don't know if you recall our game, but basically, I think my big trump for you was, no activators. And I think it came in the first hand and nothing was really set up. So it became mute and you kind of just JW'd me to you're to a second place victory.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think Little Iceman, I discarded him every single time that day.
Yeah.
It was not a card that needed to be played. So it's I take it out of the deck. I don't think I'll be playing it anymore. Right now,
You know, it's one of those cards, right moment, the current meta with the lockouts, right? I mean, you know, anytime someone does a bunch of lockouts, there's a potential for,
sure.
you know, you always have to think about card advantage when you're thinking overpower, right? Even if he has one lockout or one Dracula card, have the Little Iceman take care of that and do a 1-for-1, you know, is it even worth it for the potential where the rounds where it come up, right?
Right.
And that, I think, is what a lot of people should assess when they're making decks and things along those lines. Is like, when this card comes up in the game, how am I going to feel? If it comes up first hand, if it comes up third hand, if it comes up, you know, last card of my deck, is it going to do anything that I want it to do? What would I do with it in those different potential scenarios? I often akin that thought process, you know, when deck build too, to things like low attacks, you know, something like if you were using Doctor Strange on your front line or in your deck with a Beyonder deck, do you do two of his 2 additional attacks? You know, like the question is it a reason in your deck why you're using or do you draw 2 in the first hand, now you see 2/2 energies and you're just hating your life, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you know, all of these thoughts should run through your head when you're putting additional cards in your deck. Things like 1 to 9 teammate avoids, great, you know, 3 of them is classic. 2 is actually a nicer number. I mean, don't ask Dave McMillan that question, but 2 is always nice when it comes nicely formatted in your deck. 2 is horrible when they're both at the bottom of your deck. So, you know, overpower is the game of chance, and there is game of luck, and
but it's also
you
the
know,
skill of how
the whole
play, what you
idea.
draw. Yeah.
Correct. And
That's where the
you,
skill
as we
is.
all know, good players can change the luck of the game, right?
That's
I
right.
mean,
Yep.
all you got to
Turn
do
it
is
around.
activate horseshoe at the right time, and
That's right.
you're good to go.
And Phil Keffer is in the group chat. Hi, Phil. And he says that Origins was
Nice to see you, old friend.
he played Fantastic Four before Errata, and Acrobatics was the regionals in New York City, and he won $1,000 at Origins. So,
Yeah.
I got a question here. Can I take a question from the chat? How did
Please do.
Sorry, I should have read the question before I asked. How did Peace Bridge go from your perspective?
Throw it out. Throw it out.
Did you enjoy Peace Bridge?
You know, Peace Bridge was a unique tournament. One thing a lot of people don't grasp is you're always, as a competitive player, thinking about not only the meta of the last tournament, but what the potential meta will be in the next tournament, right? And this one laid out a unique format of Masters. A lot of people, if you're tuning in for the first time to the show, don't know competitive overpower. Long story short, you could only use one of the characters: Spawn, Jammers, Witch, or Doctor Strange.
Right.
I wasn't going to use any. I wasn't even going to enter the Masters. It had been a while since I've kind of like laid a thick Marcelling down on people. And I was going to come in with a really top tier deck and just run the show. Well, lo and behold, Bobby Fischer comes out of hiding and decides he wants to play in the game again.
Yep.
Throws me for a bit of a loop. He purposely did it. He tilted me the week before. Him and his mind game. Everybody knows Phil Keffer and his mind games. You know what I mean? So he throws this out saying, I'm going to play in the Masters. I'm like, well, then I got to play in the Masters if you're playing in the Masters. So, you know, I'm changing decks the week before from what I originally was going to play.
Oh.
Honestly, I went and decided to go with a safe over sorry approach, and I was safe and sorry. That's how that turned out.
That's a good way to put
and
it.
You know what? sometimes you play tournaments like that and you go in with the best thought in your mind, and we all have stories where if I could have played this wrong, I could have played this different, the whole game would have been different. I will tell people right now, as new players, all you want is team defense. It's really your thought process behind your decks, right? A lot of people like the blanket of the 1-9s. To me, you need a little, you don't need a lot, right? And when all 4 characters are defensive abilities, you've played defensive decks in the past, Doug. You know that those things can just, all of a sudden I have 2 1-9s placed and he's only got 3 cards left. And I got to start making crazy decisions. I'm blocking, 1s and 2s with 1-9s. And I'm just like, it's not my particular style of deck anymore. So to answer that lovely, sometimes and sometimes you crap.
Yeah. So how?
That it happened in Oklahoma, right? It happened in Oklahoma.
Right.
So the feeling.
The same deck that went 8-2 the tournament before goes 2-5. It happens.
A meta shift. That's it.
Right. Just a slight shift is all it takes, or one game of miscounting. But how often would you play a deck before you showed up with it at a big tournament? I mean, changing a deck a week before a big tournament seems like not a good idea to me.
So, that's a funny question, because a lot of people who know me personally, and especially in the tournament scene, they know I don't play a lot of scab games. I save my overpower for the tournament day.
Sure.
These days I do play a little bit the night before just to tune and think and, get into the flow of things. But I don't really play a lot. I've actually been known so many times to be building my deck the night before. Now, obviously, attributes to how great of a player I am, because, to build the deck the night before and then to, basically, go your top tier runs and stuff, that it starts to weigh, to not play your deck and not know the thresholds of what you bet, what cards are in your hand. It gets to you. And I got to say, I've completely flipped the script for this next tournament. I'm coming to the cup hard. I'm coming for the cup. If anybody knows Canadians, basically they know we love cups, okay? We love to win our cups. So I'm coming for the cup hard. I basically last weekend been at the Bertrands. We're doing lots of training, which is unique.
Okay. Are you going to change
I
your
don't
last
often
name
do
to
that.
Bertrand, so that you don't have to play one of them in the first round?
I'm honorary, but honestly, I'm one of those people. I've always gone to a tournament. I don't care who I play. The person who's playing me cares more than I do. They're the ones shaking.
Yeah, that's just a long way to travel just to play your brother.
It's true, but with the tight knit community, the one thing, obviously, again, shout out to Howard with the new challenge that he's using. And basically, it's nice that we can at least fudge the first round, where you didn't just drive down all day talking about your deck to the person in the car and literally like, okay, I'm playing you now. You know how many cards I have in my deck of everything.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. So who do you think you beat the most? Who do you have the most tournament wins against?
I don't necessarily say the most. I don't really need to call anybody out like that, Josh Alexander. But basically, it's about quality of wins a lot of the time, right? Like, you always remember, sometimes my favorite games aren't even necessarily wins. They are games that I've potentially lost, but it was one of the best games I've ever had, or it was a back and forth battle, like one of the classic games, basically like a lot of the finals I've played with Phil Keffer, those kind of games are like my favorites, where it comes down to that. But beating, who have I beat the most? I mean, everybody, when it comes down to it, I think better off saying like, who have you lost to? that list is a lot shorter in the
Do you
grand scheme
remember?
of things.
Do you remember losing to anybody?
I mean, in this last tournament, I do. What are you gonna do, right? Yeah, definitely. For people out there who are going things, it was hard on this last tournament. Is losing one or two games, you got to realize you're still in the tournament. Tournaments are all about. I always look at it like a baseball season or an NFL season, right? It doesn't matter how well or how bad you do in the first tournament. It's about making it to the postseason of that
Right.
tournament and
Yep.
or the second tournament, however you want to look at it in the
Yep.
day, right? It doesn't matter if you're 4-3. Just look at what Ty did in last year's Peace Bridge. 4-3, up the last round of the 8. Guy gets upset, turns around and wins the thing. So
Yeah,
it's not about how you do in the first tournament.
Yep. Just
period.
make it to the single
And I
and then
mean,
round.
With the math that works out in a lot of our tournaments, 5-2 is how you got to go in most tournaments. So to lose one game by a misplay, then to lose one game outright because the cards didn't fall, all of a sudden you're playing for your tournament life.
Yeah.
And that's where I think separates good players from bad players. Obviously what I'm going to say with the last tournament, but I think that's probably one of the first top 8s I've missed maybe in my career. Of course, the guy sitting next to you that way also missed the top 8. So I guess you can't really,
it's tough
you can't really,
tough competition up there.
That one really was. And, people not having the classic crutch of the Spawn Strange, the Phil Miller staples, by people not having access to both, I think it really created a whole new unique scenario. I think it just, again, it plays off Howard's conceptual idea. I know Phil Miller was involved with this as well.
Yeah.
And I think that bounced from the team tournament that happened and the banning of certain characters. And that idea is what led to the Masters idea. I think conceptually, of course, correct me if I'm wrong, Howard, I'm sure you're in the chat. But it was really nice to see a lot of different decks. Obviously, kudos to Phil Keffer. I mean, it was essentially, like a close proximity to my OKC deck, but, kudos to the man for coming up with something that was perfect for the meta, right place, right time. And of course, I always say one unique thing is people always talk about the Lambo. The Lambo in the wrong hands, just like a real Lamborghini, will crash.
Sure.
A good driver with a good deck on the right day, you can't do anything.
So what do you think the game is now? You like the future? Think it looks good?
This is what I'll say. BMG Empire, as I call them, has been a great thing for the game. They really have. I speak frank. All the boys of BMG I consider personal friends.
Sure.
So when they know I speak frankly, I don't ever speak of a negative tone. I think they've done phenomenal with the conceptual idea of the home bases they've come up with. The home bases alone, whether it be New Dracula's Armory or Odin's Vault or Triskelion, has opened up the card pool to old characters that you would never even have conceptualized putting in a deck. That part of what they've done has been phenomenal. The any character cataclysm side of things, I thought it was a good game. I think with neutering, it has, or Dow banning, has created a scenario where any heroes now at a 30% clip in tournaments is maybe not the powerhouse it used to be. I mean, obviously, any heroes with no activators is always going to bring an oomph to your deck.
Sure.
Leeches, things like that. The new any character they added in the last tournament, nice touch.
What one was that?
If I would throw, so that's the one. It's like a pseudo Spider-Man with great power. So it's an enter where you get to look at the top cards of your deck, and you get to choose one
Yeah,
and put it in your hand and then
Yeah.
discard that card. So it's sort of like a mini search
sure.
idea. It's okay. Like it would get play. I don't see why you wouldn't put that in your deck. The one thing I'd like to maybe to think about is out of their Cataclysm cards, they really created good ones. I think the Heimdall special, which for the people watching is considered a cat. And just make it regular any hero accordingly. I don't see how you would put that in your deck over a draw 4, a 10, a draw 3, or a lock off. To me, the levels are like, way different than what they should be. Now you add that to the current any character pool, where now all of a sudden I have an avoid, a negate, and an avoid draw special. Then we're starting talking where like, any characters could come back and play. But I think they're probably still at least one or maybe two non-OP any characters
I think
away from making them viable
I
again.
think you're right.
With the BMG things, obviously, I'm tied to one of the NDAs. I don't know. I didn't really read it that well, so I'm sure I can't talk too much about randomness. I know what they've told me about what they have cooking up. If it works, amazing. I don't know. I'm one of those people who lives for today. Carpe diem, right? I don't live about past tournaments. I always look about future, new tournaments, new things, those sort of things. So I'm always living with what we have right now.
Well,
I will say this about BMG. I wish. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Oh, okay. My final thought on BMG and the way they go about the game is I wish they would maybe take more of a wrangle hold on rulings for tournaments and things along those lines. I still think the whole, community rulings on MOE cards or things like that are still in a gray area. Who's really the be all end all final say on things? I know a lot of it comes down to literally a tournament match. And that's what I don't really like, because in the middle of a tournament game, it's like, how does this play? And then that's the ruling for the rest of time. I really wish that things could get brought back to a forum.
I think they'll bring that under control at some point. And I've had some discussions with them too about what they plan. I'm all in. I already told them. I said, you guys do this. I'm selling singles in the store, and I'm breaking cases of this product. I'm excited. So I'm just hoping that they pull it off and bring it back full force, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I think it's got a high ceiling. I think it still has legs. It's got.
I think when their cards come out that they eventually make, I look forward to the first and second tournament, because first and second tournament of a game where nobody's kind of stuff. I'm not, whether or not I doubt it'll be legacy style tournaments with older cards, those kind of ideas. So it'd be really fun to see like players like, Phil Keffer or like Ty Bertrand, or, shout out to Ricky Sauceda out there. I don't know if I said your name right. I think I said it right.
Ricky's going to break.
He's almost breaking. He did just break our current game.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. I don't know if anybody saw that infinite loop idea out there. Good gosh, and if that could just lead into my next thought of, I literally said it this weekend when I was chatting with the Bertrands and we're chatting about deck building. I was like, deck building right now in Overpower, and again, I believe the home bases from BMG are a good reason why it's happening. Deck building is alive again. People are trying characters they've never thought of. like what I just saw Ty play this weekend, like was like, whoa, like what are you thinking? And then all of a sudden I'm playing him and I'm just like, I don't even know what to do right now. Like,
Nice.
or seeing Ricky's like Iron Man avoid deck idea,
Yeah.
like it's made me as an old, I think rested a lot of laurels on a couple solid decks,
Sure.
A+ tier decks, has gone back to the drawing board and realized that the fun of building a B+ or an A- or an A deck and taking it to a tournament and having the run of your life. Like, I mean, I'm sure Phil Keffer would never say this, but, people would look at the deck he just brought to a tournament and call it an A or an A- deck,
Yep.
because in the wrong hands, that's what it would be. Dare a B or a B- to B+. But for someone to take that, and run it the way he did, like that's where the excitement's come back. The excitement's come back full force for me. I mean, I'm thinking about Overpower all the time. My fiance hates it, like, I mean, she walks into the room and she's like, "What is this? Some sort of card sanctuary?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, it kind of is. It's where me and Overpower live
That's
and
right.
create. This is my space. So and I just heard in the beginning you're thinking of a new deck.
Yes.
And I mean, if you're thinking of a
I
new
know.
deck building is alive and
Yeah,
well.
it's amazing, isn't it?
I
I'm going to
mean,
use something that I guarantee nobody else has ever played. But I got to tinker with it a little bit. But
I can't wait for the first
what?
to see your eyes when the KO event gets pulled on you for the first time by somebody else, and you have to kill one of your characters.
Yeah, I know.
I can't wait to see your face.
Yeah,
You're going to feel the pain you felt everybody else. Yeah.
Ricky says.
Think about
Ricky's
that, people out there who are coming to tournaments.
Yeah, Ricky's
Think about that. You have to have someone you're going to kill.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Ricky
throw it
says
up,
his
Ricky.
wife hates the amount of time he's spending on Overpower too. Chris is in the chat saying he has a new deck idea. AJ doesn't know what's going on, he says. So, but hey, we got 17 people in the chat right now, Marcel. So I know you've got something.
That's a tournament in itself, right there.
That's awesome. You got something you want to give away. So let's throw it out here to the chat.
Absolutely.
Who's NTGTV? I don't know. Hey, welcome to the chat. Marcel is going to give away a play set of the Mega Powers. Those are not easy to come by right now.
They are not. They are not. Now, play set essentially means one of all the 1 per decks. Yeah. I don't think you can see it, but one of all the 1 per decks, and then 2 of the non-OPDs.
Okay. So let's open up the chat. Let's get some questions here for the GOAT. Anybody got anything they want to ask? Yeah. And if we get something good, Marcel's going to award that person with a set of Mega Powers. Anybody got a question? The best card in the Mega Powers, probably Shadowcat 6, used to attack or defend out of a battle site. What do you think? Yeah, I like that one.
See, I don't agree.
You don't agree?
I think for me, it would. No, for me, it 100% would fall either to the Marrow avoid draw, so avoid 1 to 4 and draw a card. Those, like, it's the best universal defense in terms of that, or maybe the Colossus discard 3 from hand, 1 per deck. Colossus is one of those completely underused characters.
Well, with that,
I actually would say, yeah.
But you're never going to play
Colossus in general. I mean, Derek Bertrand played Marrow to an undefeated tournament in Boston last year. Marrow is not to sleep on. 1 to 4 avoid draw. Target character must discard a placed card. A 3 that if you block it, I draw a card. Like, there's a lot of potential there. Now, one thing, that I think would be unique about something like that, and where I think, again, deck building is coming alive, is playing Marrow, who's only a 16-point character, on something with maybe like an Odin's Vault, and getting out, per se, the 7 boost in the first round and making Marrow
Okay.
like a 6 fighting, 7 intellect character round
All
one.
right. That
You
will
know,
help.
then all of a sudden a character like that turns into a powerhouse, right?
Okay.
You know,
Yes. Then
those
that,
are the sort
right.
of ideas where mind just shaking, right? War Void draws where it gets a little shaky. You know, top
Yeah.
tier players don't have a lot of cards 4 or less. Now,
Right.
with new decks that are coming out, there's a lot of string decks, things like that. You know though about those.
Sure.
Those are where 1 to 4 void draws are the gold.
Okay. Let's take a question we got from that guy. How do you feel about alternate art cards?
I'm a fan. You know, I know the game enough that you know, alternate art cards to me don't really change the way I play. I'm not scared to say what is that? What is that? What is
Right.
that? What is that? And usually, you know, in overpower lingo, people will be like, it's a trick transport or it's a master mold. And you already know what that is based
Right.
off those original names of the cards.
Yeah. I'm a fan of alternate art.
I think is the thing that gets a little bit shaky when it comes to alternate art, and I do grasp the reasoning behind it. It was actually me last year in your tournament. One of the things I played was the Rebirth Power Leech. I just happen to really love the alternate art version. That's the Damagon Power Leech. I had
Yeah.
placed it. It has a greenish border. Somebody I was playing looked at that green border, automatically basically just saw the any home base 4 in their mind,
Oh, A next.
a next. And you know, I could see the mistake. I get it. But, you know, I mean, you know, with a little glare on any of those shields, you can
Sure.
instantly just, you know, assess things and then make a big decision wrong on something like that. I think, you know, to stop, for say, specials, I think that would be the key to it all. Specials with alternate borders, I think would be a no-go in my mind. But any power cards or any you know, any alternate arts of characters, I think just more fun. And you know,
I
there's a
like
lot
that.
of great talented deck or a lot of talented card creators out there who have spent a
Sure.
lot of time on Photoshop and stuff making these. And you
Okay.
know, of course, shout out to one of the best, Dan Diaz. You know, great card making guy.
Got a couple more
But stuff like
questions
that,
here.
I think it's good stuff. Fire
Yeah.
away.
Okay. Um, GOAT, who is the best reserve hero? Who do you think is the best reserve hero right
Oof.
now?
You know, we chatted about that recently. That actually did come up in a discussion. I'll give you the base of the discussion. Of course, it always comes down to your deck, right? Um, there are two. You know,
Just two?
two kind of take the cheese up. Two are up here. That's what I'll say. First off, Doctor Strange. You know, the Marvels card, 1 to 6 avoid from reserve, and backing up the 8. That alone already almost makes
Right.
him the best. The reason I say there's one right beside, for me, is Silver Sable.
Because it's a
To
9 or
me, I
less.
think no.
No.
To me, I believe the reason she's the best is for the card placing advantage of her teamwork. Often you're up on an intellect off teamwork coming from reserve, having a 1 to 9 avoid and a teamwork. That already gives me the 1 card advantage over almost every opponent I play unless they're playing Silver Sable as well. Dare
Right.
I say, now I'm playing an opponent who's playing X Babies on their front line. And now they can't even place a teamwork to X Babies. And now I'm a 2 card advantage
This
most
is true.
times up on them.
Yep.
You know,
All right.
these are things you got to think about if you're thinking about tournament play.
Okay. Real fans want to know where Marcel's lucky rock is. He's going to need it. Got any idea what that's about? Do you know who that is?
You, you know, I mean, it's sure it's one of the fans. I don't know if it's the fans from Greece or the fans from Japan. I couldn't tell you where this fan's coming from. Trust me, I got a lot out there. Um,
Do you have a lucky
it
rock?
goes back to my early. What it is, it's my early deck playing days. You know, I'm one of those people who I like to play something on top of my deck. And basically, I consider it a lucky, you know, I had a lucky
Okay.
rock. I brought an alien once. I'd bring crystal skulls. The latest one I had was a phenomenal. It was actually a 3D printed Oreo from Jack Truong, and I would often
Jack.
do the Rounders Oreo, listening to it. Clearly, the Oreo told me wrong because I didn't make top 8. I'm blaming the Oreo.
Yeah, no more Oreos. All right.
No, that Oreo, it's not in the garbage, but it's close to it. Yeah.
All right. Is there any card that should be banned immediately, like today?
Yeah. I don't think so. I think the game's really kind of like starting to balance nicely. Obviously, I think we'll start to see a lot more of the classic decks in the next tournament because the Masters is kind of like only a handful are still in the running for that or even going for it. So I don't think there's really card per se that's in the pool right now that should be banned. Like I said, I'd like to see maybe a couple cards change their classes, like Heimdall becoming not a Cataclysm, making any heroes a little bit more viable. But I don't think there's any card that's running the show right now. I think if anything, we're again back in a good spot.
Yeah. How do you feel about the negate? I know some people would like to see it do away with negates. I think you got to have them.
See, I actually wish that that question was given a lot more in like things like MOE or the Marvels printings. To have only eight negators, I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the number, but it's roughly that. And the one, I'm the biggest component of hating that there's no fighting 7 negate other than the Reavers. The price point on that is ridiculous. 21. Fighting just always gets the short end of the stick when it comes to negators. A secret hidden gem that I've just never been able to pull out is, of course, Old Mojo being a 6 fighting negator. But again, to have such limited range is where it's hurt the most.
Yeah, I agree. All right. I got,
You can't not play a negate.
you
You can't not play a
can't.
negate on a deck. Not if you're trying to win a tournament. I'm sorry. You can have the greatest conceptual idea, but look, if you would have played Phil Keffer in the last tournament and you sat across from him and you had no negate, he's basically going to say, "I just won this game."
Right.
You can't stop a single thing I'm thinking about doing,
Right.
and that just can't happen. Not in today's era.
All right. Looks like I got, oh, wait a minute. Oh, Howard just popped up with one, but I got to ask the one that Ricky's got before that right here on
Yeah.
live on the internet.
Deck building or something.
No. Would you like to reveal to us
Okay.
who is the Shadow King? Would you like to tell us right now while all your fans are watching?
Listen, the Shadow King and I, no.
No. Sorry, Ricky. He says no. He is not going to do it.
I believe I know who the Shadow King is.
Oh, I believe I know too.
I am not the Shadow King, if that's what people are thinking. I don't have the time for that Shadow King type of shenanigans. I loved it, obviously, as everybody did.
Sure.
Great thing. You'll never out troll me on the internet, though. I'm the greatest at that. I mean,
No doubt.
anything Overpower related. We'll just call it
No
that.
doubt.
Yeah.
All right. Here's one from Howard. You guys probably had this discussion back home. What is the current ruling you dislike the most?
Oof. That's tough. That's really tough. I think the thing that I got most worked up about in the grand scheme was, again, maybe not a per se a single ruling. I won't throw one thing out there, but the idea of who's ruling at the end of the day, who is the ruling structure in Overpower. It kind of went from one group to another group to another group, and there is kind of like a group effort in terms of like who's doing it. But obviously the one that really upsets me the most is Mole Man. You got to feed the mole. Not having his KC special be defensive, I think, is a travesty to the
Well, that's
game.
kind of wrong.
That's
the whole
it,
purpose
it,
of the
it
card.
eliminates. Yeah, his case is not, it has to be played offensively. I think it got neutered when Vertigo got neutered. I want to say that's the time frame of it. As an Overpower historian, I believe that's exactly when it occurred. I think it totally could be defensive. It would all of a sudden bring Mole Man into a conceptual idea of decks, let alone someone like Leader as well who has it, or Grunge, or the places of characters like that could have thought. So that's probably the one that I think I wish would be changed.
Yeah. All right. Here's another question that just showed up. What was your Peace Bridge deck, and what made you play that one? What were you thinking on that deck?
So I was between two decks. Okay, I can say them right now. It's not a big deal. The first deck I had actually built and was ready to play was Mojo, Doctor Strange, Silver Sable in reserve, and Invisible Woman. Again, a very defensive-oriented deck. The idea behind that deck was correct. So it was about teamworks, and just having tons of teamworks plus defense to it. I obviously played with the idea of Invisible Woman Malice, hidden gem Invisible Woman out there, friends. There's a 7 who's an Invisible Woman that throws 3 teamworks, just so you're all aware as well. So she was probably going to be the one who actually made the deck, because 3 max 6 is a little, avant-garde. So that was the first deck I thought of. I was chatting with a few friends and what they were going to play, and then I just went all defense, which to me was the mistake again. I thought so my deck I went with was Inhumans, Invisible Woman Malice, Scarlet Witch, and Doc Strange in the back. Conceptually sounds phenomenal. Defense for days, negates, removes, 8s, 9s, everything you could possibly want, and paired with the Citadel. I often found myself in moments where, like I said, it was too defensive. I would rather have given up Invisible Woman per se in that deck for like a Ghost Rider, and give me a little bit more of that oomph of like that draw 3, that penance stare, those those additional cards. Sometimes you got to realize that a strong offense is actually better than a good defense. To find the balance is what we're all looking for in decks, but to not have what I would classify as big boy cards in your deck, 8s and 9s, they're not big to me anymore, especially with Drax Armory out there. Those are actually trivial cards now, because when I'm all of a sudden blocking your 9 with a 6 power card, and now I have other things coming at you, those just aren't the same mojo. Big boy cards, draw 3s, penance stares, 11s, those kind of things are really like, to not have those types of cards hurt.
Do you remember a guy that played at Risen from the Ashes who was playing Invisible Woman along with Blue Beetle and getting +4 to venture total every hand?
Yep.
I
think that deck came out, I'm going to actually say that conceptual deck came out a long time ago.
Sure.
Now, obviously, a little bit better with things like Odin's Vault and stuff. I'm going to say I saw that deck in Frank Yu's basement. We were playing a tournament back in the mid-90s, and I saw that deck. Now, that deck kind of came out when the whole Avoid idea of the tournaments were in play. So when you just had massive avoids and people weren't even landing hits. That's when having 2 +2s were making the rounds instead of, because people were just playing Invisible Woman, then people were like, well, I'll add a second one. And then I even saw a conceptual deck with Commissioner Gordon Hollow Hero sitting up front with that, where they were doing +6 every round. Of course, then you're a max 6 deck and so on. But in a max 6 tournament, being +6 to venture every round, it's pretty good. I did just see Sean. I shouldn't say it, but I saw Sean Ballantyne play a similar deck recently, where it was boosting Invisible Woman to a 7 way. again, overpower in this, especially in this day and age, first couple rounds of any game seem to be the most important. And when you're a +4 in the
Sure.
first round, that is huge.
Yeah, it's tough to beat. You got to get them deep in the game, knock out one of those +2s. All right. Looks like we've run out of questions in the group chat. Wait a minute, Ricky,
Wow.
I did that
Shock.
in Max tournament. Yeah. You know what? I want to give your mega powers to Ricky. You okay with that?
That is fine in my books. That's going to
All right.
happen.
All right, Ricky.
He's
We'll have it for you when
he's
you come to
becoming a legend
Columbus.
in the deck building world. So yeah.
That's right. Yeah, he's earned it. He's also participating in the chat a lot, and I like what he's doing for the game. So we're going to give it to him, and
Love
he
it.
can pick that up
Love it.
and offer you in Columbus. Hey, when you come into
Yep.
Columbus, you're coming in kind of early on Friday.
Yep.
If somebody wants to learn to play, are you good to sit down and teach them how to play Overpower?
This is what I'll say. Probably not. I don't even like
That's
to play
the
scab
wrong
games
answer.
in general. Yeah, absolutely. This is what I'll say. If you and Overpower Adventures and you have a particular person who's coming and they want to learn from the best in the world, I could sacrifice time for one person.
All right, there you heard it, folks. The GOAT himself is going to teach one person, going to give tips and pointers
One lucky
to one
person.
person, only one, private one-on-one play testing with the GOAT. That'll be August 25th. The tournament will be on the 26th.
Yep.
So if you come in on Friday,
Yep.
we're going to give away one private lesson from the GOAT. Hey, Marcel, thanks for coming on, man. It was great to have you.
My
Good to
pleasure.
See you again. I can't wait
Hey,
to see
and
you.
of course, if they come on the Saturday, they'll just witness me winning the tournament too. So,
Oh, sure. That's
they'll
just a
get
bonus.
they're going to
Right.
get some entertainment both ways. Yeah.
That's just a bonus. All right, my friend. Thank you so
Definitely.
much. We'll see you in about a month. All right,
Yeah.
thanks for coming
Pleasure.
on.
Love the show. Love the
Thanks,
show.
man.
Great
I
job,
appreciate your
guys.
support.
Keep it
You're
up.
the best. All right. Talk to you
And
soon,
hey,
buddy.
to play me is an honor. Remember that.
Remember, the show has been honored to have you. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, buddy.
I saw that.
I know we were planning on doing some original Overpower art talk. Let's hold that for next week.
Yeah.
I got something else going on next week, too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we're going to open another box.
Oh, yeah, Batman event.
No, don't tell them yet.
Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live. And, oh, man, you might, I hope, did anybody hear what Phil said we're going to open?
That's a sneak peek.
It's
That's going to bring everybody
definitely
in.
be a sneak peek. You guys are going to love it. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to do it. So tune in next week. We're going to do some Overpower original artwork talk. We're going to open another box of cards, and make sure you like and subscribe our YouTube channel. We're getting close to that 100. We need just 7 more, I think. 7 more likes and subscribes.
6?
We're down to 6,
Down to
guys.
6.
Just need 6.
They just keep rolling in.
Yeah, just keep coming.
Thanks,
Ricky,
for
what
all
happened to those
burners
15
accounts.
burner accounts? So if we get to 100, that'd be awesome. Next week, like and subscribe. Hey, like us on Facebook and Instagram. I know I got a little slack this week on the Instagram post. We'll start putting some more stuff up there.
And if you want Marcel to teach you how to play, give us your name. We're going to put it in a hat and draw who gets to play. Marcel gets to teach.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I don't know. Maybe he'll let me watch. Can we record it? Yeah, we'll ask him. We can record it. He won't let us record it. We are going to record. We're going to do some streaming during the OP Cup. We're going to have table 1. We'll be on camera the whole time. Hopefully, I don't need these headphones anymore. Hopefully, we can get that going. Hey, thanks, Howard. Howard says, great show, Doug and Phil. Appreciate that. Who's OP Fanatic? Do we know him?
I don't know.
I don't know. He said no about something. I don't
saw
know.
that.
I don't know what is that about. I guess he's sad because the GOAT left. He said, no, I wanted more of the GOAT. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. We will see you all next week. Thanks for everything. Can't remember that many.